And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the CranKy Ducklings after a couple of days hiatus. It has definitely been a while. Since we've been live. Our last broadcast was Saturday. We were lucky enough to cast day one of DreamHack and also KSL right after that, which was brutal. it was not good, Bobby, not good. And we've had a wonderful weekend full of top tier offline StarCraft. I hope everyone was able to enjoy DreamHack, Young Shipping, or ESL Masters Summer, as they do say. And yeah, as a result, the majority of the Koreans are traveling. We saw that in KSL. In KSL, Su was the only big notable Korean player, and he won the event. to be fair, he did win everything. But all the others are traveling. All the big name Koreans are still in Sweden. They are still making their way back to Korea, so they are not here. And that means that this tournament is up in the air. This tournament is up for anyone to grab. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Altitude, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Team Abydos. It is Mondo. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Altitude, we have his opponent. We have the Taiwanese Protoss player representing Starlight Twinkle. It's the Red Protoss. It is Nice. Nice. Beautiful. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go. So, yeah, again, it's been a pretty intense weekend. I guess for now, I would say to avoid spoilers in the chat. It's been technically less than 24 hours since the finals of ESL Masters Summer, and I'm sure there are some people, even people in my region, like the Oceanic region, who didn't watch live and are maybe wanting to watch the VODs. So, let's have a little bit of a grace period before we really talk too in depth about any of the games that were had this morning. What I will say though is that I did the responsible thing, as anyone in Oceania would do, and I absolutely destroyed, just blasted my sleep schedule. And for both Saturday and Sunday, I went to sleep at 7 a.m. Went to bed at 7 a.m. It was quite a week. I was yeah. Just so I could stay up, just so I could watch. And it was pretty good. It was a pretty good experience. It was a lot of fun. I was able to hang out with some of the other Ducklings, some of the other friends, of course, as well. And yeah, it was a good experience overall. Oh boy, and now how long is it going to take for everyone to recover after that, for myself to recover? That's a good question. That's a very good question. But at least we're here, as we usually are, for ESL Open Cup Asia, and so far nothing too crazy. Hatchcast pool here from Mondo. Likewise, Nice is going for a Stargate opener, so we haven't missed anything out of the ordinary yet. We have been given quite some time to, catch up, basically. And on top of that, we're on Altitude, which is quite odd to me. We rarely get to see Altitude in ZVPs. Every now and then it squeezes through, it squeezes in, like what we have right now before us. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how this plays out, especially because I talk about this all the time. When I think about Mondo, when I bring him up in ZVP, he's a very mid-game player. He's very mid-game oriented, not just against Protoss, but against Terran as well. More often than not, he does cut workers at 3-base saturation, and he does just go hyper-aggressive. Very Demaga-esque. I think Demaga is the expert at it. Like, Demaga, mate, he goes up to the 69 drone cannon. No one can stop him. He's crazy. He's flexible. But Mondo is, cut from the same cloth in a way, and I'm, very curious as to what he has in store for Nice on Altitude, a much larger map, a map where it can be sometimes more difficult to be aggressive, especially in the early to mid game. Before that happens, we do force a cancel, we do get a kill on one of the drones here at the third base. Things escalating very quickly out of control there at that third. With the power of 2 Adepts and 1 Oracle, 2 drones go down, and Mondo has to keep his saturation here at his natural. He's gonna have to Maynard later when he does clean up these units. Maynard, of course, being when you transfer your oversaturated workers into your newly found bases. And there we go, they are going to be sent over as we speak. Meanwhile, behind this, Nice is working on his third base. It was, of course, a double Oracle opener into a Twilight Council into a Forge. So again, nothing too crazy out of Nice. I think that's also very important to bring up. I know that I was talking a lot about Mondo and his tendencies in this matchup, but Nice as well also does thrive not just in the mid game but also with unorthodox plays. More often than not, we have seen Nice go for robo openers, go for immortal timings, things that aren't quite meta, things that aren't quite standard. I'm not pigeonholing Nice. Of course, he's a good enough and experienced enough player to do so much more than that, but that's typically what he goes for. So that's why I'm really excited to see him go into triple Oracle from here. So yeah, with this, he's going to have quite a lot of firepower to harass. On top of that, he's going to have quite a lot of firepower to support his Blink Stalkers. Meanwhile, the 3 Oracles, they do dive on top of a Queen. 1 Queen goes down, 2nd Queen will be going down as well. Not enough energy for Transfuse. And these Oracles are already paying for themselves. Meanwhile, Blink was delayed. Bear that in mind. It was pretty interesting. Yeah, typically +1 and Blink are started around the same time, but Nice was holding off on it a little bit longer here, just prioritizing his robo, getting his gateways up and running instead. It does mean that his army is a little bit more vulnerable, but I'm pretty sure that that Blink was also delayed because he got a 3rd Oracle. Very often do Protoss players nowadays only make 2 Oracles just for map control. Again, they're just trying to cut as many corners to get into their upgrades as quickly as possible. Nice didn't do that, and so far it's worked out for him. Like, it has been able to pay for itself. Ooh, as the Oracles are going to be dancing in between the bases, one of them taking a lot of hits, the other 2 go straight for the mineral line. 2 Oracles can one-shot a drone. And a lot of drones are being one-shot. 5 workers go down in total. These queens were a little bit too busy chasing away the weakened Oracle, and they did leave this space exposed. Oof. So Mondo's been struggling a little bit here at keeping his economy going. He's only lost 7 drones so far, which is still a manageable amount of workers lost. But ideally, we want to be preserving that unit count, or that worker count, a little bit better as the Oracles, they die back in. And there's no Spore! No! There is no Spore. Ugh, 4 more workers go down, and the Queen as well. What is that? 4 queens in total? Sorry, 3 queens in total and 11 workers. Ay. Nice doing so much with so little. And back at home, he's fully saturated on 3 bases. Like, he's sitting back pretty cool, calm, and collected. We have a transition as well. So it looks like we aren't going to be hyper aggressive with these Blink Stalkers. We have a lot of them, and we can move out, to be fair. But we are quickly transitioning out of this into a double Robo Colossus production. 2 Robos are already up and running. We have the Bay, and there are the Colossi on the horizon, and there are going to be some very, very powerful power spikes here for Nice. When he has 2 and then 4 Colossi, he's going to have so much pushing power available to him. Meanwhile, Mondo has been just droning up heavily, and to be fair, his worker count is looking pretty good right now. Unfortunately, he got here later than he would have liked. He would have liked to have hit that 80 worker count a minute ago, but alas, because of all the harass, it has been slowing him down, and that slows down his unit production as well. He's trying to get into Lunkers as we speak. Before that can happen, the Stalkers are already pushing across the map. We have a decent amount of Ling Roach, but there are so many Stalkers, Papi. There's just so much here. The Lings are going to be going down. Mondo forced to engage a little bit prematurely before this gets out of hand, but he had to because, I mean, he just doesn't have much else. Now we have 14 Lings in production. We have Hydras in production as well. Again, Mondo, he was rushing into his Hive and his Lurker Den, but we may not even get that far as we are pushing back these Stalkers for the time being. You could argue that Nice is maybe pushing out prematurely. Remember, he's got Colossi on the way, you know, and he's moving out without them. And to be fair, he's trading quite well for himself. He isn't quite punished for it. He's losing a couple of Stalkers here and there. Oh, but he doesn't care. He aggressively blinks on forward on top of the army. The Disruptors have arrived. My mistake. We saw Colossus earlier, but it looks like Nice canceled the Colossi to go into Disruptors instead. Whether it's Colossi or Disruptor, whatever it is, it's just going to be more than enough to break on through. I mean, the Lynx are getting on top of some of these Stalkers, to be fair. More reinforcements are trickling in for Mondo. Mondo desperately trying to hold on. He does focus fire. He does get one of those Disruptors. But what about the Stalkers, Papi? Oh, God, it's going to be a pretty close trade here, but Nice is snowballing out of control. Is going to be laying siege upon this 4th base. We have the Hive done. We have Adrenal Glands on the way. We have Adaptive Talons on the way. We have Lurker upgrades on the horizon, but we don't have any Lurkers. No! We have 1 on the way. We have 0 on the way. We just weren't able to get into the Lurker tech in time. Mondo, he was so close to it, so close, but after taking so many economic losses earlier, it was a greedy move to kind of skip his army and get into that tech. It makes sense on altitude, but Nice was able to hit his timing very well. And it looks like he has broken through the defenses here. We haven't even seen a Nova go off. We don't even need them. GG gets called, and Nice takes game number 1. GG. Off of some, no pun intended, very nice. Very nice Oracle harass. The Oracle harass really setting up for success. Mondo, after he lost all those workers, I imagine he felt really pressured to cut corners. That's typically how things go here in StarCraft. Like, if you take a lot of economic hits, you can go one of two ways. You can either go for an all-in or try and go like hyper greedy instead, and he did try to go greedy. You know, he droned up to 83, he teched up to Hive Tech, Infestation Pit, Lurker Den, upgrades. Like, he was just trying to see if he could get away with teching up in such a manner, and he almost did, to be fair. He did almost get there in the end. Oh, but alas, Nice was able to hit him just before the Zerg's power spike, just before the Lurkers really came into play. So very crisp timing there out of Nice, as we're going to be looking to slip into game number 2. Oh, let's go, Bobby, let's go. Catching up in the chat. Hello. Dzień dobry, Wormsick. Dzień dobry. Hello, Siler, Babylings in the chat as well. First Quacker, as always. Ka. Este Ursus as well. So we're getting ready for this. So anyone actually once bought a game, forgot about buying it, and then amazed when they wanted to buy it again, but they already own it. You're an animal. Shaking my head. Hello, Vidras as well. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Dumo Valentine. Do you think maybe Protoss could win a tournament for once? Protoss win a lot of these weekly tournaments. Yeah, I highly recommend tuning into the CranKy Ducklings for ESL Open Cup Asia and Americas and the KSL if you want to watch some Protoss players win some of these tournaments. But alas, here we go. We're going to be continuing on and spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Gresvan. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing Team Abydos down in the series, but not out. It is Mondo. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Gresvan, we have his opponent. We have the Taiwanese Protoss representing Starlight Twinkle, leading the series 1-0, 1 game away from advancing on into the next round. It is Nice. Well, let's go, Baki. Let's go. And honestly, I'm really excited about this tournament. I'm really excited about this weekly. The same kind of overall consensus applies to KSL a couple of days ago. When we were casting KSL, it was like, well, this tournament's going to get really weird because all the favorites are traveling. All the favorites were in Sweden. Players like Björn, players like Hero, Classic, Dark, Solar, Ragnarok, Kior, Björn, Maru. I mean, everyone who's anyone in Korea, they were traveling, they were abroad, they were not available for the KSL. And that led into some really curious games. A lot of like unexpected finalists as well. For those wondering, I do highly recommend checking out the VODs. It was a lot of fun. It was very wild. The finals were crazy. The finals were Sue versus Special, and the way that Sue played was, there was so much nostalgia. There was so much nostalgia in it because it was very old school, very out of meta. But like, his mechanics were so solid that he made it work anyway. I don't want to get too much into it, but I highly recommend checking out Sue vs Special. Very entertaining series, very inspiring, very eye-opening as well. But likewise here for ESL Open Cup Asia, most Koreans are still in Sweden. They haven't even boarded their planes yet. I know that a lot of players are currently going to be boarding their planes today, later on in a couple of hours, and they're going to be making their way back to Korea, and even then the travel time is a long time as well. So alas, that means that those big names that I mentioned earlier also aren't here for ESL Open Cup Asia. And that's going to open things up to players like Nice, players like Mondo, players like Special, Su, Ranger, a lot of the Chinese players like Oriana, Jeshi, Firefly. Yeah, like it just opens things up for a new champion, and otherwise a player who would maybe struggle in this weekly tournament is now suddenly a favorite. So we will be going over the brackets after this series, and we can theorize and go over the potential favorites, the potential matchups. Will be a lot of fun. Also, exclamation mark for Nada Demi, because I saw Demi laddering. He could have signed up for this. He's not here. I'm shaking my head. As we get into game 2, again, nothing too crazy here from Mondo. But if you recall, at the beginning of Altitude, the beginning of the game 1, a couple of minutes into game 1, I was talking about how Nice is typically a lot more unorthodox with his openers, and I was very surprised and impressed that Nice went for a triple Oracle opener in game 1. And I was talking about how he usually goes for something out of the norm, like a Robo opener into Immortals. Likewise, we have something different. Twilight Council opener into a Dark Shrine. So we're going to be seeing some DTs coming out from Nice again. This is not very common here at the highest level of play, but Nice is going to be whipping it out here, and we'll see if Mondo can figure out what's going on. Of course, he should recognize that it's not a Stargate opener, otherwise it would already be an Oracle. He does see that Warp Gate wasn't delayed. He also sees that the Stalker is in the wall. So he knows it's a Twilight Council opener, but what exactly, he's not too sure. And here we go. The Overlord is diving into the main base. We're going to be getting an eye on everything in the main. The Stalker, a little bit out of position, is rushing into the main base, but it's too late. The Prism has been spotted, the Robo as well, and soon so will the Dark Shrine. Back at home, immediately spores are being thrown down in every single mineral line. No lair, we have a Bailey Nest on the way and a decent amount of Lings. Again, the only thing that we are lacking is detection. Oh, we're going to be cutting it closed here. The DTs are on the way. Spore will finish up at the natural and should finish up at the third base. Again, we're cutting it close here, but I believe Mondo should be okay. But these DTs, they can focus down a Spore if they so choose, as the Lings are actually going for a big counterattack. I love this! As long as we're able to defend back at home, and yeah, here we go. The DTs, they try to sneak on in, but no, we do have eyes on them. The DTs, they do not get on top of that Spore, but they will get on top of the Bailey Nest. Bailings are already being morphed in, and because we invest so much into these DTs, because we lack Blink, and we lack Charge, and we lack Gateways, this third base is vulnerable. Not even the third. Even the natural as well. Mondo's going for a bit of a Bane Bust. These are the only Bailings that he can morph in. There are defensive DTs on Mondo. He wants the third base. Up. He's trying to detonate on the DTs themselves, and there we go. That's a kill, not a cancel. 400 minerals down the drain, and one DT did go down. Nicely done here by Mondo as he does back off. Behind this, we're not rebuilding the Bailey Nest. We're going into Roaches. We're working towards our lair for mobile detection. But Nice isn't done. This is the beauty of a DT opener, and that is the fact that you can go into an Archon drop. With good enough micro, with good enough control, these Archons should not die, and they should get some value. Oh, but the Prism takes a lot of hits. Good focus firing there from Mondo. Good Queen production, and even better transfuses as he loses nothing. And Nice's Prism is now on half HP. Meanwhile, okay, I don't know if you saw, and I was just checking to see if it finished. There was Blink on the way. There was Shadow Stride for the DTs on the horizon. But it looks like after the fourth base was killed, Nice did cancel it, and he is avoiding that. He needed the resources to throw down another third base. Meanwhile, oh boy, Nice is going for a very early, very unorthodox push. We have, my god, 5 Archons already and slow lots. Mondo was in the middle of droning. We do have a couple of Roaches on the way, but again, he has to back off with these Queens. He can't lose them. Has to kite as best as he can. Lings are going to be coming in from behind. Queen's going to try and dive on top of the Prism, and it's going to be close, but it looks like the Prism will go down. But it costs, what, 3 Queens to do so. Roaches are trickling on in. Zelts are getting into the mineral line as well. It looks like this 5 Archon push is just breaking on through and getting far too much damage done. GG gets called. And Nice takes the series 2-0. he was so committed with that push for having his third base killed in such a manner, like he had to do some counter damage. And the last thing that Mondo was expecting was for Nice to warp in a massive wave of DTs, turn them into Archons, and just push. Just go for it. GG, well played. Ugh. Very well done here by Nice, as he does advance on in the tournament. And we will have a moment to have a look at the bracket. Let's go, Bobby. Let's go.